So what does creating creative balance mean for someone creative? Now, each day of our life is a journey that we travel from the moment we get up in the morning to the moment we hit the pillow at night. We will not find a road that is going to be perfectly smooth and straight. We're going to find twists and turns, rough terrain and gusty winds, and there's going to be hills going up and going down. So just like a unicyclist balancing between the forces of gravity and momentum, we have to think about the balance we need to keep between creativity and the responsibilities we have in everyday life. Welcome to the BDI Create Today podcast. This is a podcast where we uncover and discover the who, what, where, when, why, and how you can be creative or have more creativity. And together we'll explore the extraordinary impact creativity can have in your life, in heart, mind, body, and soul. And if we haven't met yet, I'm Beth Buffington, a licensed artist, digital illustration instructor, and a creative coach living just outside of the Windy City, Chicago. But mostly, I'm someone who is curious about how creativity can weave its way into nearly everything in our lives. Each week, we are going to look at one or more of the sparkly facets that make up the ever-changing kaleidoscope that is creativity. Hello, my creative friend. I'm so glad you're here with me today to chat about creativity. I'm going to start this episode with a story that is going to paint a nice metaphor about our topic today, creative balance. Now, a few years ago, I biked 2 days of RAGBRAI, which stands for the Register's annual Great Bicycle Ride across Iowa. Now, RAGBRAI, this is a bike ride that starts on the western side of Iowa and travels to the eastern side. It lasts an entire week. Now, my husband, Tom, loves this ride, and he's done RAGBRAI every summer for years. But on this one particular summer, I biked the last 2 days of the 7-day ride. And my friend, it was an amazing experience. I mean, just imagine thousands of bicyclists biking and camping their way across Iowa. We were like a giant parade, or even better yet, like a very strange plague of hungry bikers who ate their way across Iowa. Folks along the route knew that we would be biking past or through their town, so they would sell every type of food. Ice cream, cookies, drinks, coffee, tacos, corn on the cob, spaghetti dinners, lasagna dinners, you name it, they probably sold it, and we consumed it because we were constantly hungry and thirsty. Along with eating a lot of delicious food, the ride was also a beautiful and incredibly scenic adventure that holds wonderful memories for me. I biked with good friends, and we met a lot of really nice people along the route. There was beautiful scenery, blue skies and rainy skies, and also a lot of sore muscles and a very tender tush from sitting on a bike seat for 50 to 80 miles during the day. And these 2 days of adventure, they gave me a sense of accomplishment that I will never forget. Now, during the day as we biked, we saw many unique personalities and unusual bikes. There were people who had their pups riding with them in a basket or a backpack. And let me tell you that my Raspberry so far is not a candidate for RAGBRAI because she would not be happy sitting for hours in a bike basket. But there was one biker in particular that I remember clearly. And this was a guy who biked the entire ride, which in total is approximately 500 miles. And he rode it on a unicycle. Now, I wonder how many times a day he heard people say, "Oh my gosh, there's a unicycle." Because I know that very sentence popped out of my mouth when I spotted him amongst the throng of bikes on the road that day. I remember seeing him confidently riding his one-wheeled bike up and down the rolling hills of Iowa. And let me tell you, while you might think, oh, Iowa, it's got to be very, very flat, It is not. There are a lot of really long hills going up and going down. And I saw him staying calm and upright, going up and down those hills at a good pace. It was amazing. Now, the balance that you need to ride just a two-wheel bike, if you stop and think about it, is pretty amazing. I think of myself, the bulk of my whole body balancing on two tiny thin wheels and then rolling myself through traffic and around corners and up and down hills. And I'm actually amazed that it's something I can do without tipping over. But to balance on one wheel and then to do it every day for 7 days and 500 miles, that is incredible. Now, let me explain why I started this podcast about creativity with the story about a unicycle and a bike ride. Now, if you take a bike, especially a unicycle, on a journey, your main concern is to stay upright. And in order to stay upright and moving forward, you gotta have balance. So what does balance mean for someone riding a unicycle? Here's what I learned when I peeked a bit at the sciencey part of riding a unicycle. At its core, it's about finding harmony between two opposing forces. Number one is gravity, pulling you downwards. And the second is momentum, that's propelling you forward. With each revolution of the wheel, the unicyclist must constantly adjust their center of gravity, shifting their weight like an agile dancer with precision and finesse. So every movement, no matter how subtle, can make the difference between staying upright or taking a tumble. It's a continuous shift of control and surrender that requires focus and a willingness to embrace what is not expected. A legendary unicyclist by the name of Chris Holm once said, "Balance is not something you find, it's something you create." So, for a podcast about creativity, that's interesting, right? What a great quote. So, what does creating creative balance mean for someone creative? Now, each day of our life is a journey that we travel from the moment we get up in the morning to the moment we hit the pillow at night. And like the unicyclist riding each day of RAGBRAI, we will not find a road that is going to be perfectly smooth and straight. We're going to find twists and turns, rough terrain and gusty winds, rain, detours, and there's going to be hills going up and going down. So just like the unicyclist balancing between the forces of gravity and momentum, we have to think about the balance we need to keep between creativity and the responsibilities we have in everyday life. Balance isn't just about dividing up our time evenly. No, it's about finding harmony and alignment amidst the chaos of daily living. A catchphrase we hear a lot is work-life balance. Do you have it? And I've often felt that when this phrase is mentioned, it's implied somehow that there is a magic formula where perfect balance is calculated between the work and the life. And when the math is done correctly, that this balance is somehow locked into place like a freeze frame. And then we should be able to keep constantly fixed in that balanced position. So work-life balance, if the formula is figured out, work and life and balance, voila! You not only have found this coveted balanced state, but somehow, if the math is done right, it can be kept steady. Do you believe that? I do not believe it. Because if you watch a unicyclist, you'll see that balance is something you don't attain and keep. It's something that you constantly adjust and create so that you can stay upright. So balance, how can we attempt to find it? And then how do we know how to constantly adjust it in our lives? Balance can be described as an equilibrium between different elements of our lives. Like we have work, relationships, health, and yes, our creative passions. And like a unicyclist adjusting posture and pedals to stay upright, we must adapt and be flexible with our ever-changing circumstances that life is tossing at us, right? There are times when we can lean heavily into our creative passions and coast, and all of that feels good. And then there are times when we focus more on other things in our life, responsibilities, our health, our relationships. And at times, these moments can feel more like we're going uphill. But through it all, it's being mindful of noting how we must subtly shift and make those small adjustments about what we're doing and where we're focusing. And this is what is going to keep us moving forward and staying balanced. Just like a unicyclist must maintain that equilibrium to avoid toppling over, we need to assess and adjust what is going to create that balance in our lives as we navigate the demands and the obligations that we have each day. Whether it's our creative passions, our work, family, or our ever important health, each aspect requires our attention and focus and energy and a willingness to move that focus to whatever needs our attention at that moment to create and attain our balance. So picture yourself on a unicycle, pedaling powerfully on a single wheel. In order to stay upright and moving forward, you must learn how to create that delicate dance of balance. And it's not just about pedaling and keeping your body centered. It's about constantly adjusting your weight and your forward motion to counteract the forces that are pulling you in different directions. Gravity down, momentum forward. And perhaps most importantly, you want to be aware that the unicyclist has embraced the occasional wobble or even that occasional tumble to the ground. They've embraced that as part of the learning process. It's going to make them a better unicyclist if they've had some rough patches where they've wobbled or they've fallen. So we can use this thought to realize that focus and a willingness to adjust to the unexpected doesn't mean that there isn't going to be time when the road is really rough or incredibly steep and it causes us to stumble and fall. So if you're having a stretch of rough road right now, and maybe you've taken a tumble, oh, my friend, rest, take care of your scrapes, but get back on your bike. Often we learn the most when we have difficult stretches of road. This is where we find new ways to create balance when that road is tough. It's in these moments of vulnerability that we discover our resilience. We discover that we are resilient and we have strength. And you, my friend, you are strong. And my friend, you are a beautiful, agile dancer. Now let's take a quick break and listen to a word from our sponsor. And that sponsor would be me. Are you interested in exploring your creativity with Procreate on your iPad? Get my free Kickstart video. It gives you a beautiful tour of how to use Procreate to create your own art. You'll get information about brushes, brush libraries, layer and layer options, explanations of the tool icons, and so much more. So go to www.create.today/Kickstart to get my free Procreate Kickstart video. That's www.bdi-create.today/Kickstart and get my free Procreate Kickstart video today. Now you might be thinking, this was a good story, an interesting metaphor, and I understand the parallels, but how do I incorporate this idea of creating balance into my busy days? And because you know I love a good list as much as I love a good metaphor, here are some ideas that can help you think about how you create your balance between creativity, work, family, and health. Number one, Understand your boundaries. So establish some boundaries between each piece of your life. So establish a time or a schedule for creativity, for work, for your family activities, for watching your health. Avoid trying to multitask two activities together or letting an activity spill over into another activity's time. When you can purely enjoy and focus and get the benefits needed from an activity, especially your creativity, then you get more out of that time. So create those boundaries and give each activity time so that you can focus solely on that one thing. So it can be important and successful in your day. Number 2, prioritize. You can't do everything all at once for everyone every day, right? So you want to identify the most important task each day. What is the one thing that you really need to attend to today? And focus on completion for that priority. Make sure that there are days where your creativity is your priority. And then make a list of the other things that you'd like to accomplish in that day and maybe put them in a chronological order from most important to least important. Add all of that to a to-do list and then begin addressing your priority. When are you going to do that? Give yourself time to focus and complete that one thing that is important for your day. And then you can start addressing those other chronologically important items for the rest of your day. This is going to ensure that essential obligations are addressed and that you have that chronological list to let you know of what else is important during the day, and you'll be able to get more accomplished. Number 3, time blocking. So you've made that list. I want you to get out a calendar and then block out those specific time slots for accomplishing your one priority and then your to-do list of chronologically important things. So you know how your day might look. Having a schedule to follow will maintain a sense of structure that will create some of that balance that you need and you crave. Number 4, practice mindfulness. Instill a mindful understanding that although you might have a plan for a structured day, life is going to throw you some twists and turns, right? And then allow yourself to know that it's okay to flex from your schedule to attend to unexpected problems or events. Allow yourself to decide whether you need to stay aligned with your schedule or if you need to flex away from that calendar to give yourself time to address something unexpected. And then, my friend, give yourself permission to say, hey, it's okay to make changes. Allow yourself to make these decisions. Should I stay with my schedule? Do I need to flex away from it right now? Give yourself the permission to make these decisions and then move ahead. If you give yourself the permission to make changes, you will be able to stay in the present. You're going to be able to reduce stress and create that balance on your unicycle. Number 5, limit distractions when it's time to create. When it's time to really concentrate on your creativity, you want to minimize distractions by turning off notifications, setting those boundaries. And this time your boundaries are going to be with friends or family or social media that might be interrupting your focused time. So by creating an inviting creative environment, you're going to be able to spend quality time on your creativity. Remind yourself that you've reserved this time for you, and it's perfectly okay to indulge in your creative passion. Enjoy coasting downhill into that wind and have a good time. Number 6, set realistic expectations. I want you to be realistic about what you can accomplish within a given day. Avoid overcommitting yourself to complete too much in a day, because this can lead to burnout and imbalance. So I want you to celebrate what you do get done. Celebrate all the goodness that you have been able to accomplish in a day and feel good about your accomplishments. And now, practice self-care. I want you to prioritize your self-care activities. These are things such as exercise or movement, good nutrition, getting adequate rest, and spending time with your loved ones. Remember that taking care of your well-being is essential for creating and then maintaining your balance. By implementing some or all of these strategies and maybe thinking of other strategies you can add to this list, you are going to be able to cultivate a greater sense of balance between each of the important areas in your life. Becoming strong and nimble with caring for yourself, which is creating that balance, this is going to lead to increased productivity, satisfaction, and overall well-being. And that, my friend, that's balance. As we come to the end of this whimsical unicycle ride today, let's remember that balance is not a destination, but it's a continuous dance to be embraced. And dancing, my friend, is an enjoyable form of self-expression. So watch yourself. How are you staying upright as you work through each day's journey? How are you creating balance? Imagine that you're that unicyclist on RAGBRAI. May you find joy and fulfillment in the journey as you ride from sunrise to sunset each day. And I hope you learn to enjoy the subtle dance between gravity and momentum, and that you find your unique sense of balance as you create today. Until next time, stay creative, my friend. Oh, here's one more note from our sponsor, and that's still me. I have an exciting invitation for you. Winter is just winding down. We're seeing some hope for spring and summer here in the Chicago area. So it's time that you start preparing what you're going to be doing all summer. And one thing you can do is something for yourself. Join me at the Artist Rising Retreat Center in the beautiful Connecticut River Valley Inn. The dates I'm going to be there are July 28th through August 1st. I am going to be guiding you through my creative process of taking photos of flowers, drawing and stylizing your beautiful flowers, and then making zenfully gorgeous flower mandalas all in Procreate. We're going to be talking about how we can take your beautiful art and put it on product. Now, the inn is beautiful and will serve you amazing food and drink, and all you need to do is rest and relax and be creative. So come and bring a friend or two or three and meet me in Connecticut this summer for some lovely sun-filled days, and we'll create today together. For registration and to gather more information, just go to www.artistsrising.net/Beth-Buffington-2024. Or look to the show notes for the link, and you will find the information on my Instagram page too. Just search for Beth Buffington. I can't wait to create today with you this summer.